likes. And if you look at the pace at which legislators move, AI is evolving like a cheetah, and legislature is moving like a tortoise or a snail. To Future States, the podcast where technology, law, leadership, and society meet. I'm Emmanuel, and in each episode, we explore forces shaping our future and what leaders can do to navigate them successfully. Last episode, we explored why AI governance may matter more than AI itself. And today, we are taking that conversation one step forward. Because even if we agree that governance matter, or maybe even if governance matters more than AI itself, the critical question still remains. Can government actually keep pace with technology? Consider this. What happened when technology evolved in months and the law takes years to catch up? And we are going to look at what has happened just in the last few years. Generative AI exploded into public consciousness almost overnight. And what we are experiencing now is that AI models are becoming more capable every few months. And an example is for ChatGPT. Now we have advanced, we used to have three, they've, uh, they've deployed four, and currently we have five. The challenge now is that government across the world are now racing to develop regulation to guide AI. Within the EU, we have the EU AI, and also business are deploying AI tools at unprecedented speed. Of course, businesses always want to make money. But as all these things are happening, legislation move through lengthy consultative process, and courts relies on rules that existed long before AI existed. The likes. And if you look at the pace at which legislators move, AI is evolving like a cheetah, and legislature is moving like a tortoise or a snail. So there is a wide difference in the way the two operate. To be fair, regulators are attempting to understand AI tech, but the problem is that it keeps evolving even when the regulations. But AI is moving quickly than those regulations. So the key point here is that technology moves at exponential speed and government is moving at an institutional speed. Institutional speed requires a lot of agreement, a lot of politicking, a lot of lobbying, and all that, which is not happening in technology. So these two institutions and these two speeds are really the same. And that is why we have the challenge. So today I want to explore whether government can realistically govern emerging technology and what happens when innovation outpaces regulation. This is a problem that we need to talk about today. What is happening today is not new. Throughout history, governments have often struggled to keep pace with technological change. Let me give you some examples. When we have the internet has been in operations for so many years before government started creating regulation to catch up with the use of the internet. And if we move away from the internet, let's talk about the social media. The social media has been in existence long way before government starts introducing regulations to control it. Up to now, there are still a lot of changes happening to social media. Just a few weeks ago, I heard that Edinburgh City Council in Scotland is trying to ban students from going to school with their phones because they are always busy on social media. So what I'm saying is that regulation of social media is still ongoing up to now. Another side is cryptocurrencies. There is still a lot of things around cryptocurrency that we are still struggling to understand. And another one is ride sharing platform like Uber and all these companies. There is still a lot around their regulation because those technology came in before government become conscious that something like that can ever exist. And now we have the biggest of all, artificial intelligence. And you'll see soon that artificial intelligence appear to be different from all those previous innovation. What normally happens generally is that innovation often arrives first and then regulation follows later. Sometimes we are lucky regulation. So let's think about social media, for example. Social media, we have social media platform transform communication. It transformed politics, advertising, and a lot culture long before government fully understand its societal impact. In terms of social media, like Facebook and Twitter and the likes, some people even argue that it has affected elections in some countries, even as big as the United States of America. So by the time the regulation is being seriously discussed, that is when billions of people are already using the platform. So in most instances, even if the damage has not been made, the damage has already started. So because, and this is the reason why the challenge is there. Technology will only ask one question, and that is what is possible? What can we do? How can we make this? How can we improve productivity? How can we? Technology will ask just one question, but governments ask what is acceptable. And these two are fundamentally different questions. What is possible is different from what is acceptable. A lot of things can be possible, but then by the time we had look at it from the frame of acceptability, and that completely change the terrain. It is very easy to criticize governments and to complain that they move slowly. And that is fair. Many people criticize governments for moving slowly, but there are reasons why governments move slowly. So, and we need to consider the fact that governments must consider public interests, governments must consider human rights, government needs to consider economic impacts, national security, legal implication, and international obligations. All these things that I've just cited, they are not easy to navigate. They take a long time for but unlike technology companies, governments cannot simply move fast and break things. If something happen, a technology company can take a lot of risks. They are just writing some code. The worst thing is maybe their company go bust. But if something bad happen, like economy, like politics, it can create a lot of unrest. So the implication, the consequences for government is way larger than for technology companies. So that is why government has to take their time. That is why government is always, you can criticize them for being slow, but that is the reason. And let me give you this example. When governments regulate technology, they are not only thinking about innovation. And let's look at AI in this instance. When government is regulating AI, they are not only thinking about innovation. Government will consider bias, they will consider privacy, they will consider employment, security, accountability. So that something is fast is not always a sign of effectiveness, and sometimes caution is necessary. So it's good to have speed, and it's also good to exercise caution. The challenge is finding the right balance, because obviously you won't say because you want to be cautious. As you are being cautious, you also need to ensure that innovation is not stagnant. So that is the major challenge: finding that right balance. As the government is exercising caution, there is a risk of falling behind, and we are going to be looking at them. So when regulation does not exist, organizations will run their own race. They'll create their own rules. They will only do things that profit them. They won't, some of them are kind, but most organizations will put profit before people. And what will this lead to? It will lead to inconsistent standard. There will be public confusion, and there will be increased risk. Another thing is that there will be loss of public trust. If government appears not to be able to manage emerging technology, then the people will lose confidence in institutions. Imagine when government cannot manage, when a company extorts you, and like Facebook or Twitter, a digital platform, and government cannot do anything about it. You feel like the government is not useful. So, and that is why the government is who is protecting us, who is accountable, and who decide what is fair. And all this decision is not clear. Another thing that we need to look at is the concentration of power. When regulation lags behind innovation, power often accumulates among those controlling technology. That is why currently Facebook, Apple, all those technology companies, they are very, very powerful. AI model providers like OpenAI. OpenAI has record of all your journals, all your articles, all your intellectual property. So where I'm going is that one of the most important governance questions over time is who should have power to shape the future? Who should have power to shape the future? I think about that. Hopefully we'll get back to answering that. And the next thing that we are going to be considering is what good governance looks like. Who can explain what good governance is. Governance should not be a blocker to innovation. Successful governance does not mean stopping innovation. It only creates a condition where innovation can happen in a responsible manner. Because innovation that is not responsible is detrimental to the society. An example is example of an innovation creating a nice environment is when we have clear regulatory framework, when we have easy to interpret transparency requirement, when a model make a decision, externability, independent oversight. We have a body that goes around to audit these models. Also, public consultation, ensuring that people are taken along when developing new technological solutions. So the most effective governments will not be those that regulate the most. They are only those that regulate intelligently. So the key point here, which I want us to have in mind, which I'm going to be arguing that the goal is not to slow technology down. The goal is to ensure that the society benefit from it. Because if you look at the definition of innovation, if it does not affect the society positively, it is not an innovation. For it to be an innovation, it needs to be of benefit to the community. So not everything that is new is an innovation. That is something that you need to understand. Before it is innovation, it must be beneficial to the society. So if you're a leader and you are thinking about what you should do, we are going in this segment, I'm going to be talking about what leaders can do to survive this environment. The first thing as a leader in your organization is for you to monitor regulatory development. And that is because you need to ask questions like what regulations are emerging, what laws could affect our organization, and are we prepared? Because if you don't ask those questions, that means that you will be offside. The World Cup is going on. That means you'll be offside when those changes are happening. So you need to ensure that your organization is not left behind. You keep in touch with your community. And secondly, you should not wait for regulation before you act responsibly. There is the common saying that people are not obeying the law. Most people are not just obeying the law, they are avoiding the consequence of the law. You should not just avoid consequence of the law. You should do what is right, what is ethical. So do not wait before acting responsibly. Your organization should establish ethical principles, governance framework, and internal control even before they become mandatory. Because if you're already doing good stuff, by the time it becomes a rule, you would need to make no change. But if you have been cutting corners, by the time rules change, that is when you have to change everything. So prepare, always act responsibly, and your organization will be safe. The third one is that you need to build relationship across discipline. Technology decisions require input from different people. It is not just software developers. We need engineers, lawyers, policymakers, risk professionals, business leaders. Everybody has something to contribute when it comes to technological development. And the secret is that the future belongs to organizations that can bring this perspective together. You need to bring everything together. If you can't bring it together, you are still going to lag behind. So throughout history, every major technological revolution has challenged existing institutions. Look at when we have the printing press, the industrial revolution, the internet, and now we have artificial intelligence. So the question is not whether technology will continue to advance. It will continue advancing. There is nothing we can do about it because change, not, how do they say it? The only thing that cannot change is change itself. So it will. The question that we need to answer is, can government evolve quickly enough to remain effective in a world changing faster than ever before? If they cannot, we need to ask another question. Who will govern the technologies shaping our future? So thank you for listening to Future States. If you found today's discussion valuable, share it with a colleague, a policymaker, or a leader who is thinking about future of technology and the society. So next time, we will explore something different. We will ask a critical question: who owns your data? Because in this AI economy, data has become the world's most valuable resource. But until next time, I want to tell you keep asking not just what technology can do, but what society it will help us create. Thank you.